Following the introduction of Bill number 13 of 2025, which is meant to amend the Lands and Deeds Registry Act, different stakeholders have weighed in on the development, some expressing concerns, while others welcoming the development, saying it will enhance land administration in Zambia. Today on the People Space podcast, I'm privileged to be joined by Mr. Patrick Musole, all the way from the Zambia Land Alliance. He is currently serving in the portfolio of executive director and will be weighing in on this development and, of course, looking at other factors governing land administration in Zambia. You're welcome to the People Space podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
We're also excited to have you here, especially now that we have this thing that has dominated conversation between different stakeholders. But before we get into the nitty gritties of this important aspect that is happening where legislation is concerned and land administration in Zambia, we have a tradition on the People Space podcast. We first of all want to know who we are talking to just beyond the brilliant work that you're doing and the title that you carry. So, who is Mr. Patrick Musole outside of the work that you do?
Thank you so much, Wenson. Patrick Musole is a husband of one wife.
Very important.
He's a father of
Yeah.
6 boys. And I am, of course, a Christian and a Christian leader. And I'm a law abiding Zambian citizen. I think that's how I describe myself. Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting, especially on the fact that you are law abiding as well. Not many would have the confidence to say that, but either ways, we appreciate. As we start, we just would like to first of all get right into it, just to get your thoughts as an institution that is very active in this space. We know a lot of people have given their position following the famous or infamous Bill number 13,
Yeah.
according to some people. What are your thoughts on this bill?
I think we have, as an alliance, Zambia Land Alliance, we have made a position, and our position is very, very clear. We believe that the bill is actually a potentially progressive bill.
Mm.
And I'm saying it's a potentially progressive bill because, of course, we did identify some weaknesses therein, which we think need to be fixed rather than throw out the baby together with the bath.
Mhm.
So, as an organization that is working in the land rights space, we see a lot of illegalities that are happening in the land governance. We see a lot of illegal land titles. The challenge is that following the 2014 ruling of the Supreme Court, any conflict around land title has to go to court. And that has clogged the court with lots of cases, lots of issues that take so many years. Some go up to 5 years before they can resolve. What that means is that that land, which is locked up in court cases, cannot be put to use because it is still pending resolution, pending the judgment, and so forth. So we have in our records a lot of cases that are pending because everything has to go to court. The Lands Tribunal has tried, but still we have a lot of cases that are pending. And we believe that this bill that provides for an alternative dispute resolution mechanism is actually a progressive route.
Okay.
It's a progressive bill, yes.
Some people have expressed concern with regards the welfare of landowners. Does this bill adequately protect and safeguard the rights and interests of landowners?
In its current form, no. But with some safeguards, added safeguards, which we believe need to do. We need to ensure that we have safeguards put in place to protect the land rights, our property rights of people. This should be good.
Okay.
Yes.
What are some of those safeguards?
First of all, before we talk about safeguards, we need to identify what are the vulnerabilities, what are the weaknesses in this bill, because that's where we need, when you identify the weakness, then you come up with a safeguard to take care of that weakness.
Yeah.
One of the major weaknesses, of course, which has sent anxiety among people is the unilateral powers of the chief registrar, where the chief registrar is granted powers to cancel titles that may be acquired by mistake, acquired using false pretense, acquired fraudulently, and the chief registrar is given the powers to nullify such titles. And just that, because the introduction of the bill does not provide details, sent shivers among Zambians. They believe, oh, they believe that the chief registrar will just wake up tomorrow in a bad mood and they'll decide to cancel titles. And that's not the process. That's not exactly what, if you read the details of the bill, the chief registrar, first of all, is given the power, but there's a process that needs to be followed. There has to be a complainant, someone who files in an application that a given title is irregularly obtained, or it is illegally acquired, or it is erroneously acquired. So there's a process that needs to be followed. And then when that such an application is filed, the landholder is notified and is asked, can you explain? Can you provide the evidence why this should actually not be cancelled? So there's a process. So there's an opportunity for the landholder to defend their certificate of title. Now, of course, giving powers to this one person to make such a decision sends shivers amongst people, amongst landholders. And so our view is that, first of all, we need to look at who is this one person? Who is the chief registrar? So the appointment of this chief registrar should not just be a political cadre or someone appointed just like that. This person, we recommended that this person should have the qualifications of a high court judge with both expertise and experience in land law and adjudication. So this is someone who is qualified, well vested with land laws, who also has experience in adjudicating land laws or court matters. We also recommended that this person the appointment must be subjected to public vetting and also maybe recommendation by professional bodies such as the Law Association of Zambia, so that everybody knows that this person is qualified to do the job and they have the credibility to do the job, they can do a good job. So first and foremost, we want that kind of person not to be just any appointee, a political cadre or someone. It has to be a qualified person that is appointed in a way that is transparent and vetted by public institutions. So that is our recommendation. Secondly, we also recommended that this person should not work unilaterally. This person should work with a committee of interdisciplinary experts. These are experts that are well vested with land laws and property rights and so forth, who are part of the committee to advise this. So that by the time this person is appending the signature, has been properly advised by qualified people. And so it is not just one person that makes a decision. Because if we allow one person to make such a decision, an individual can be biased. We are all biased in what we do. An individual can be prone to corruption. They can be bribed. An individual can also have political affiliation or inclinations and so forth. And so I would like this decision, yes, it's signed off by this chief registrar, but this chief registrar is supported by a committee of experts and professionals that do the analysis, that follow the process, and endorse that, yes, this decision can be made.
Okay. I think those are very, timely and very excellent recommendations that you've just highlighted. And obviously, you've spoken to the competence, which cannot be overemphasized. What I wanted to find out also is if you look at other areas, we've had a problem, rightly so, as identified by the Zambia Land Alliance, where the appointing authority sometimes makes it very difficult, no matter how competent or the structure of appointment authority, where they answer to, who puts them there, and things like that.
Exactly.
And we've seen that sometimes even good, qualified, well meaning individuals have challenges to function in certain roles because it's Mr. Musole that appointed me to be Deputy
Yes.
Executive Director at Zambia Land Alliance.
Yes.
So I can't say much. In terms of autonomy of office, is it something that also you are engaging the relevant authorities to be able to look into?
That's exactly what we propose, that this must be done by a committee of experts, and then this person comes in to basically sign off a decision that is arrived at after a process by experts who examine all the evidence and everything to do with that application before they actually make that decision. So this person should not just make a decision on their own. They need to be advised. They need to consult experts so that when they make a decision, it is a fair, it's an objective decision that they are making, having considered all the evidence presented to them.
One of the other issues that emanated with this development is the uh, alleged lack of adequate consultation with different stakeholders. And a lot of people said there was no proper consultation, lack of sufficient sensitization for people to understand so that there's proper buy-in and so that the changes that will come, people can understand the procedures that the changes will come with. What are the views from the Alliance on that?
We fully agree that government did not carry out adequate consultation. And that's how come there was that outcry from different stakeholders. For people, groupings such as farmers, for them, land and the property rights are very, very cardinal. Some of them have acquired loans using those titles. Some of them have invested so much on it. And to think that someone would just wake up and terminate or cancel their titles was unimaginable. That's because, one, they were not consulted so that they hear from them, they get their views. Because as stakeholders, people that have an interest in land, they need to have their say in the process. But apparently, clearly that did not happen. That's why we saw that kind of reaction. But there was also misinformation. When you look at the kind of reaction that we got, people did not even know that there was a process that was to be followed, that there had to be an application. Someone had to apply that this was an illegal title, and that the owner of that title would be notified and be given an opportunity to be heard. And after presenting all the evidence, that's when the title can be cancelled or they can decline to be cancelled. So there was a process to be followed, and people did not know all of this. They just thought, okay, government has introduced a law which will empower the chief registrar to cancel titles. And that's all that people got. And that's how it is even introduced in the bill, in the amendment bill. And I think that there was some misinformation and misunderstanding only because people were not adequately sensitized. And of course, generally, government is not great at sensitizing. Government, even the laws that are enacted, government enacts lots of laws and puts them on the shelf without sensitizing communities, without sensitizing citizens. There are lots of laws that citizens are not aware of because government is not good at sensitizing.
There's another issue that I'd like to tap your mind on. This is coming from a development that coincidentally, if I may use that word, I learned of 2 days ago.
All right.
In Kabwata constituency. So there's a group of people that wanted to secure some land to build some recreational facilities and a park for the kids and everything.
Yes.
And I'm told their area member of parliament actually told them that sadly, there is no land that we can do this project for, which is more central, which is near houses, neighborhoods and all that. Then they would say, but what about that piece of land over there? No, it's owned by a Chinese. What about that piece of land over there? No, some Indians took it. What about that piece of land over there? So I wanted to tap your mind as well. Is this something you hear certain people who say, when you go to other jurisdictions such as the UAE, it's not that easy as a foreigner to own land. And land being a factor of production. And as a Christian, one of the things that God told Abraham first thing was to go and secure the land, as one of those things that you need to be able to build wealth on.
Yes.
As a country, when we talk about land administration, don't you think we should have deliberate policies that also would be protect the interests of your future generations and my future generations 50, 100 years from now when it comes to land ownership as we discuss land administration?
We actually absolutely need to have laws that will protect the land rights of the citizens. Unfortunately, for a long time, we have not had such safeguards and protection of citizens. We have been placed on equal ground uh, to fight for land together with foreigners and Zambians and so forth. And because foreigners come with an added advantage, it is easier for them to acquire land. As a matter of fact, we are not even on equal ground. Foreigners are facilitated by the government to acquire land in this country. You've heard about Zambia Development Agency?
Yes,
The
ZDA.
Zambia Development Agency, this is a government agency that is empowered to attract investment. One of the ways, one of the incentives that they provide to investors is to help facilitate to secure land. So you have an entire government agency that helps foreigners to acquire land in this country. And we don't have a department that helps citizens to acquire land. So these foreigners are coming in with their capital, and there is a government agency that helps facilitate the process of them acquiring land. It becomes easier for them. They have the money, they have the support from government through ZDA, and so it's easy for them to acquire land. For the Zambian, in the first place, most Zambians don't even know how to acquire land. They don't understand the rules and the processes. So they end up getting land from political cadres. They end up even going to their area MPs. The area MP is the wrong person to approach for land. They don't have a mandate as far as land administration is concerned. The right place to go is to the city council. City council has the planning authority. They are the planning authority. They're the ones who know and have the records of which land is available, which land is taken, and so forth. So when you go to politicians such as MPs, councillors, and all of those people, they are the wrong people when it comes to land administration. So it's unfortunate. Now, not all is lost, I must add, because we have the National Lands Policy. The National Lands Policy has provisions for regulating of land for foreign investors. Now, it's in there that now we have placed a consideration for a limit of land to be given to investors in terms of the size of land. And there's also provision to limit the tenure. Currently, as we speak, a Zambian will acquire land, a land lease for 99 years. A foreigner will acquire land lease for 99 years. That's how things are. But that policy provides for reducing or consideration to reduce land lease for foreign investors because it is agreed that there is no investment that takes 99 years to mature. And so nobody needs an investment or a lease for 99 years for them to be able to undertake whatever projects. If they want, they can have a lesser lease. And then, when that law is enacted, when that policy provision is enacted into law, we'll probably have less years given for investors because no investment requires 99 years. So it's only now that is in our policy. But all along, we've had no difference between a Zambian and a foreign investor.
You know, interestingly, I met a Jew who was looking to invest in this country. And one of the first things that the guy did before looking at any other opportunity was to buy land.
Yes.
So I asked him, I said, why is this a big deal for you? Then he says, as Jews world over, our first priority wherever we go is to secure the land.
Yes.
So that's the kind of thinking that our friends out there have when it comes to investments.
Yes.
And coming to your point, because that was going to be my next question, you know, and I'm glad that you touched on it, you know, the issue of the tenure itself. You know, why should, honestly, foreigners, not that we have anything, and we're not being xenophobic in any way, but we're just looking at protecting the interests of Zambians at the same time looking at what is prevailing world over.
Yes.
When you go in other jurisdictions, I'm told you can't get land for 99 years. You can't. No. It's practically impossible. No matter how much money you have, you can't get a lease for 99 years old. So I wanted to find out, as we look to enacting some of these laws that are progressive and speaking to what is going on at global level, what do you think would be maybe the recommended years for foreigners?
Well, during the policy consultations as civil society, we did make some recommendations to that. We proposed that probably foreign investors could be given something like 25, 30 years lease, which is renewable if they still want to continue with the investment. So they could renew it for as long as they want, but it should have actually a less duration of their lease rather than 99 years. And we proposed that Zambians could maintain the 99 years. But also the amount of land, the size of land that could be given to investors needs to be regulated. You may be aware that we have land in this country that was owned. It's popularly known that one individual, one family owns half of Lusaka.
Yes.
And that title was acquired, of course, before independence. Because our titles are 99 years, we have lease agreement for 99 years, it is still valid. So Zambia is only will be 61 this year. So we talk about 99. If it was obtained just before independence, we have another 39 years to go of that. So we don't know when that lease was acquired. So
And if they are selling to other people, it means more lease durations to others.
Yeah. Ideally, they shouldn't add more. It should actually be just within the 99.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, what has happened is that they've realized that they're getting closer to 99 and they've started subdividing and selling it. And we have all these real estate companies trading in land, and they're issuing them those subdivisions and so forth. Yeah. So we think that foreign investors should have fewer years in their lease agreements than 99. Possibly somewhere around 30, 40 maximum, which is renewable if they're still interested to continue with their development. Should be good enough.
Interesting indeed. You are watching the People Space podcast with me, Wenson Mavor, and my guest today is Mr. Patrick Musole, the executive director from the Zambia Land Alliance, and we are talking about land administration in Zambia vis-a-vis the recently presented Bill number 13 of 2025 in Parliament, which is meant to amend the Lands and Deeds Registry Act. And of course, we are looking at the impact of such a legislation with regards to protection of rights for landowners and their interests as well. But you can stand a chance as well to win yourself some fantastic and amazing prizes by simply being interactive on our platforms. That is the Center for Trade Policy and Development on Facebook and YouTube, and also CTPD Zambia on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and other social media platforms. If your comment on one of the episodes and teasers that are shared on these platforms garners enough traction and reactions, you may win yourselves a t-shirt, capes, hoodies, and other amazing accessories that you do not want to miss out on. So let's get talking on social media, and we'll see you shortly after the break. Super fantastic and vidocious. My name is B Flow. Catch me on the People's Space podcast. Stay tuned. Welcome back to People's Space podcast. And of course, we are looking at land administration in the country. And my guest is Mr. Patrick Musole from the Zambia Land Alliance. And of course, we are looking at so many aspects vis-a-vis the recently tabled bill in Parliament, which is Bill number 13 of 2025, which is meant to amend the Lands and Deeds Registry Act. Now, Mr. Musole, as we went on the break, obviously we were looking at you did bring out some of the safeguards that can be made within the law to make sure that land is protected, administration is strengthened. One of the things that we've noticed also is the issue of, traditional land.
Yeah.
It also has a lot of drama attached to it, and there's just a whole lot that needs to be worked on in that area as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts on that. How can we also make sure that that aspect is also prioritized?
Yeah, customary land, which happens to be the bigger chunk of land in this country.
Mm.
We haven't concluded a land audit to establish how much customary land we have left in the country because since 1995, when we enacted the Lands Act, we've been converting state customary land to state land.
Mm.
And so government estimates has a very, very conservative estimate of
Mm.
20, 80% customary land and 20% um, state land. And we think that those figures are serious underestimates because a lot of customary land has been converted. So the challenge we have around customary land is that we don't have a law that guides the administration of customary land. So customary land is administered according to the traditions, norms, and the values of each tribe or each chiefdom. Now that can mean anything. So that's where you find in some jurisdictions, women are not allowed access to land because all land must be owned by men. In other places, women can own land and so forth. So that in itself is a serious challenge as a country. So we need to have a law that can administer, that can govern, that can guide the administration of customary land so that it's standardized, so that all the laws meet the minimums of humanitarian laws or rights. Human rights must be respected because talk about land rights are human rights.
Mhm.
So you cannot have traditions and the practices where women are not allowed to own land. They can only own it through their husbands, uncles, their parents, even their sons.
Mhm.
Fun enough. So we need to have a law. But apart from those negative traditional practices which do happen in our culture, in a lot of customary land, we also have a lot of sale of customary land by the people that are entrusted to take care of customary land, by the chiefs, by the headmen,
Mm.
especially the headmen or
It's
head
become big
persons now.
business.
It has become big business. So they are busy selling land. They are busy allocating land beyond their legal limit. You might be interested to know that the chief can only give out a maximum of 250 hectares. But sometimes in other places, we've seen chiefs that are giving out more than that to an individual, which is beyond their legal jurisdiction. So we see a lot. We see chiefs that are selling land, headmen that are selling land, displacing their own people. We are aware about cases where the chief sells land, which includes their own palace because they did not do a good job in terms of measurements and
Mm.
mapping. Yeah, so there's a lot of drama, like you've rightly said, under customary tenure. And there is a lot of fraud as well because the way in which this land is being transacted, there are no rules, there are no laws regulating it, and some land, especially in nearby areas, is being sold 2 times, 3 times over the same piece of land to different land seekers.
Yeah.
So we need to regulate the customer land administration.
Okay. Could you tell us what the Align project is and your role in it?
Thank you very much, Wenson. Align, which is A L I GN, stands for Advancing Land-Based Investment Governance. Okay, advancing land-based investment governance is a project that is funded by FCDO and being implemented, of course, at national level.
Mm.
Um, it's being implemented by Zambia Land Alliance and the CTPD. Our international partners are actually IIED and the Columbia Institute of, sorry, I've just mixed up the names. Now, what this project does is to bring about the administration of investment
Mhm.
so that it can bring about a win-win situation
Mhm.
for the investor, of course,
Mhm.
who puts in their capital, for the government that wants
Mhm.
taxes from the investment. That's how come you hear our government, the Minister of Finance, and the President are speaking very strongly about investments, because these investments bring revenue to government through taxes. But the areas where these investments are happening, there are people who live in those areas who are impacted by these investments. And those people, those communities in the areas of the investments also need to benefit from those investments, and not just to suffer from the impact of the investment by way of dust, by way of pollution, by way of other negative impacts. So the investment must benefit the local communities. Besides that, the investment must protect the environment. So
Mhm.
we cannot have an investment which we can undertake at the expense of the environment, which will damage the environment. Because if we don't take care of the environment, it will not take care of us.
Yeah.
So this aligned project is actually promotes what we call responsible land investment. Responsible land investment is investment that, of course, takes care of the people. It is investment that takes care of the environment. It is investment that is a good corporate citizen that pays his taxes, that respects human rights. It is investment, of course, which will make their own money. So that's the kind of uh, outcome that we want to see out of the Align project.
Mm. Are there some specific success stories that you can share from this important and well-meaning project that you've just explained?
Yes, we have recorded a number of success stories. One that comes to my mind quickly is um, the proposed or planned resettlement of 270 families in Kamisengo area of Kalumbila district.
Mhm.
These are households that are in the area where Barik Lumwana
Mm.
wants to expand their mining operations into.
Mhm.
These people live in that area, and because the Lumwana mine wants to expand their operation into that area, they have to be moved.
Mm.
To move these people, there is a process that must be followed.
Mhm.
So these people must be resettled,
Mhm.
taken to alternative land. They must be compensated. So there is a process that is supposed to be followed. Now, what happened was that the way in which the mine started the engagement with the communities was not right, because communities were not adequately informed about the whole process, about their benefits, the compensation, about the valuation of their properties, their fields, their crops, and the fruit trees, and all of that.
Mhm.
So there wasn't transparent communication about how the process would be. So they raised concerns.
Mhm.
So because we are active there, Zambia Land Alliance and CTPD are active in that area, we have community structures there. They raised an alarm and say, no, 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 no. Come and see, I think we are being disadvantaged here. So when we looked at the case that they raised, we also raised the flag with the mining company. And then the mining company, we also engaged the government, the Ministry of Mines and Ministry of Development, and they called a meeting. We went on site and we discussed the matter. And so an agreement was reached that the process would be conducted properly, people would be adequately compensated, and they'll be resettled with the properly with dignity.
Mhm.
So we recorded that as a success. Well, I must say that the resettlement has not yet happened.
Mm.
I think it's planned for 2026,
Mm.
but at least we see that the process is going in the right direction, and we are confident that the community members are going to benefit from that process rather than being just displaced and suffering the negative impact of the mining investment.
One of the things that obviously you mentioned, which is very, very important for me, is looking at all these stakeholders that are involved, in the administration of land, be it within initiatives such as the Align project or outside, how important is effective coordination between government, traditional leaders, and all these people that are involved in this land administration?
Thank you so much, Wenson. That's a very, very important question. Coordination is key in everything because when you talk about investment, it is a multi stakeholder undertaking. We have the investor that, of course, is out to get their profit, but we have the government that invites the investors, that gives license to the investors to do the business. We have local communities headed by their chiefs, their political leaders, MPs, and all of that. So coordination, and then of course, let me add, we have government agencies such as the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, because we know that these investments sometimes negatively impact on the environment, and so we need to have that watchdog on board. So coordination is very, very key. No matter how well you're doing your job, if you are not coordinating with other stakeholders, such as ourselves, civil society, because our role is to blow the whistle when we see that investment is not going in the right direction. So we need to coordinate, we need to communicate, we need to ensure that what the right hand is doing, the left hand is aware, so that we can pull in the same direction to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, but also to avoid some people being left behind as we implement these investment projects.
I love the fact that, Zambia Land Alliance is very active and invested in this. And of course, you are partnering and collaborating with other relevant stakeholders to be able to
Yes.
make sure that, we achieve the goal of effective land administration at national level.
Yes.
When we talk about the Align project, what role did, CSOs play, such as Zambia Land Alliance and everybody else, closing some of these gaps that you've identified in the process that perhaps maybe government can learn from and be able to start implementing at a national scale?
Thank you so much. Our role as civil society basically is to mobilize communities and sensitize them about their land rights. Because, like we said, many Zambians do not own land because they are not aware about their land rights. They think land is just out there and they don't think that they have the right to own land. But also about investment. When these investments come and they're taking place in our area, Zambians need to know that they have the right to benefit from these investments. So we sensitize them about investment sharing. We sensitize them about the environmental issues. But we also engage investors so that we share with them the challenges that the communities are experiencing. We also hear from the investors because when we talk about investment governance, we need to look at what are the laws that are governing investment in this country. Are they helping the investors? Because sometimes we will be on the extreme end of criticizing the investors and blaming the investors and so forth without hearing from them to hear what kind of challenges that they're experiencing. Sometimes we complain we are not experiencing, we are not sharing the benefits, but are there really benefits? So we need to hear from the investors. And so one of the things that we've done is to facilitate roundtable engagements where we bring local communities, we bring the investors, we are there ourselves, we bring government to a round table. We discuss these investments. How are the investments working? What are the experiences of the local communities? What are the experiences of the investors? Because whether you like it or not, if the local communities are hostile, investment will not be secure. So the local communities need to be happy for the investors to be happy. Because in a hostile investment environment, they will not be able to enjoy their work and be able to get the benefits that they want from the investment. The government, as the referee, together with the government agencies, need to do their job. And they need to be seen to be doing their job of regulating to ensure that the investment and the investors are actually delivering on their promises. Because investors have undertakings. They say, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this for the communities, for the environment. So are they fulfilling, are they living to their promises? So we need to have Zema on board. Zema needs to wake up. We know that incidents have happened in this country that have clearly shown that Zema is not on board. Zema is not in charge. They are not fulfilling their mandate. And so we need everybody on board and active.
I love the fact that you've mentioned there's need for a holistic approach that does not only focus on one side of a spectrum, but hears from all sides. To that effect, were there any legal or policy gaps that you identified, that make it difficult to manage land-based investments, particularly when you're dealing with the aligned project in those communities where you did some work?
Yeah, I think under the Align project, one of the challenges that we have is that the fact that we don't have a law that regulates compensation of people. We only have a policy, which is the National Resettlement Policy, which was first enacted in 2015. And then it was revised in 2024. That was last year. So we have the latest version of the policy. We don't have a law that regulates compensation. And we know that a policy is just a guide, it's a general guide. And so it's not good enough. It doesn't have the force of the law. It provides guides and the standards and so forth. So that's the biggest gap that we have when it comes to investment. And we've actually been working with government and advocating that governments needs to enact a law that can regulate uh, compensation and resettlement of people and so forth. We need that in place. At the rate at which these minerals are being discovered, and we want to dig everywhere where there are people, we need a law that will protect people's rights. Yes, we can't afford to leave it at police level.
Interesting. As we unfortunately get to wrap up our conversation, you mentioned an interesting word there, compensation. I remember, though my case was solved anyway, thankfully, I'm one of those lucky fews. There's a piece of land that I managed to secure somewhere, and unfortunately, I was dealing with people that were not. There was a dispute between them and the headman. So the legitimate owners of the piece of land sell me a subdivision on their property, and the headman says, "No, no, 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 you can't sell land without my authority.
Yeah.
So there's no
Yeah.
way this can happen. I'm not sanctioning this."
Yeah.
The headman also proceeds and sells it to another person.
Yeah.
So lucky enough, me and that person had a conversation, and the person said, "You know what? You were the first one to come and get this land. It's okay." So when we talk about compensation, are we also looking at going beyond policies that speak to that and enacting laws that can also speak to such kind of arrangements?
Yes. First of all, let me comment on the land that you bought, which there was another buyer and the headman did not sanction it and so forth.
Mm.
Technically speaking, customary land should not be sold and bought
Mm.
because it is communal land. It is not any individual's land. It is
Mm.
for the community. So when an individual sells that land, what happens to the other people that have an interest on that land? That becomes a problem. And so when such land is now, let me just finish that. However, if I am on customary land
Mm.
and I build some structures, some development, and I want to move from that place, I wouldn't. How do I recover what I built there? So I can let you buy that, basically the value that I invested on that land. If I built a house, if I did that, you compensate me for the value that I developed on that land. But I should not do it alone. I should do it in consultation with the headman, with the chief, saying, I'm now leaving this area and I'm selling this property to this person who is going to compensate me of my development and investment into here. So I will sell, but I'll be selling the value that I have invested and not just bare land. So bare customary land should actually not be sold. Unfortunately, it is being sold, which is an illegality. So what happened there? There was an illegality that happened being perpetrated by the headman, and there was an illegality. So there was a lot of illegality happening.
Mm.
When it comes to compensation, we need a law that will stipulate how compensation should be done. Because if you are being forced to move from a piece of land because of a development, for example, if some minerals have been discovered, our current law gives superiority to mining. So whether you have a title or whatever document you have to move, but you have to be compensated. There are different types of compensation that are currently in use. You can be compensated cash for the land that you're living, which is the waste compensation. Don't just get cash, but you can also be compensated for land to recover the land that you're leaving behind, to replace the land that you're leaving behind. But remember, the land you are leaving behind, you had some development there. You built something there. You invested on that land. You planted some crop trees. You did that. So on top of the land that you're being given, you need to be given money to refund you for your investment that you're leaving behind. So you can have a mix of land and cash, which is the preferable. Or sometimes communities have just houses built for them in place of the land that they live. So there are different models that are there. But we need to have a law which must regulate and make it mandatory that developers need to compensate with clear standards and guidelines.
As we get to wrap up, briefly, what would be your final word to ensuring that, or what kind of institutional changes and policies would you recommend to the powers that be to ensure that we have equitable and sustainable development, especially when it comes to land administration in Zambia?
Thank you so much. We need to have a law that makes the compensation of land mandatory, so that there's adequate compensation of people that are losing their land. We need to have a law in place. Currently, we don't have such a law. We also need to have a law that mandates or that makes it mandatory for investors to be able to plow back into the communities. Right now, what is happening is investors mostly are just extracting and giving tokens in form of corporate social responsibility. It's not mandatory. There's no law. So out of their goodwill, they'll give whatever they want, whether they give some balls or they build a classroom or whatever they do, it's up to them. It's discretional. We need to have a law which must actually compel investors to plow back and invest in the community for community benefits.
Thank you very much for coming through, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. My guest this afternoon has been Mr. Patrick Musole, all the way from the Zambia Land Alliance. He is the executive director, and we've been discussing land administration, looking at some of the policies that can be considered for implementation, laws that can be considered for enactment to ensure that we not only have fair but equitable land administration and distribution in the country as we look to achieve economic development. Thank you for watching. And before I let you go, remember, you can win some fantastic prizes ranging from t-shirts, mug cups, hoodies, puffer jackets, and a whole lot of merchandise that we have, which is excellently branded of high quality. But all you simply have to do is be interactive on our social media platforms under the handle Center for Trade Policy and Development on YouTube, Facebook, CTPD Zambia, on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media platforms. If your comment on any of the episodes or teasers that are shared on those platforms garners enough traction, reactions, comments, you might just be that lucky winner that gets to walk away with a whole lot. And another amazing opportunity that we create by your interactions on social media is we can also create time for you to meet our guests that are well vested in their area of expertise, such as Mr. Musole himself, to come and learn a lot about land administration, land rights, your rights particularly, which are very, very important when it comes to land ownership. You can't be safe to own land if you don't understand your rights. So we do create that opportunity as you get interactive with us on social media. Thank you for watching. See you next time on the People Space Podcast.